See you later.
Go.
Bye.
Bye.
The Evie Cafe. On time 24. I need more helium. Hang on.
Welcome
to the EV Cafe
here
at the AA,
at the Carter Academy,
Fleet Mobility Live,
The Business Design Centre in Islington.
live at the ITT Hub 2023. So let's go.
No, fuck that. Who are the EV Cafe?
For a team of experts.
Bunch of legends.
Crazy people.
These guys are on tour in 24. And I'll be there too. Wow.
Amazing.
Love that every time.
Hello, you
That's on
gorgeous
board.
people. And a very warm Christmassy welcome to the EV Cafe, the final webinar of the year. It's our Funner Christmas special. Funner! We are delivering Christmas presents. Now then, I've got a bottle of Thatcher's Zero Somerset cider down by Yerla, which I'm just about to open. Anybody else got a little brew? Anything?
Yeah, got a cup with my name on it.
Good on you. So excellent. This is good news. Well done, chaps. Good. So today we've got a little bit of EV stuff and logistics. I've got my bells, obviously. Don't know if you can hear that. We'll be joining Bryce Cunningham of Mossgiel Farm, then Fraser McLean of M&H Carriers, and then a bit of a mental health checkup as we gear up for Christmas and some insights into how we're all mentally preparing for Christmas. But let's have a little look back on 2023 because we've been massively well supported. And I just wanted to give you a flavour of the EV Cafe's year so far. And the highlights for me are that you won't believe this, but we've had 6,200 hours of EV content, EV Cafe content that's been consumed this year by our audiences, 1.1 million social media impressions. But most important has been, for me, that feeling part of something. The kind words, the private chats, the direct messages of thanks for a hug or a lift in someone's day. And I've made lifelong friends because of the EV Cafe. The other thing that stands out for me is the wonderful support we've had from Helen Parker, our executive support, Caroline Kirby, our events and podcast manager, Joe Bamba, our producer, and the team at Generate Media. They've helped us be a touch more organised and to get through an incredible workload, and I personally can't thank them enough. Paul, hello, mate. You're looking gorgeous. Got the horn?
Honey.
I never want to see that again. Please never, never do that again. You missed out the braces flex.
Oh,
there we go.
Nipple-tastic.
It's all going on here in the Kirby household. I do need to take these off though a little bit because
You can't see.
I can't really see. Yeah, it's been a pretty amazing year, and you know, I echo John's thoughts entirely. You know, to move this to be a little more organized is nice because you know the chaos that is. But it's been great, and a couple of things that I've really loved this year. First of all, was a lot of the podcasts. They've been I mean, it's been such a privilege to be involved in those, and you know, to be talking to some of our industry's greatest minds, best entrepreneurs, pioneers, collaborators, and innovators. I mean, that's been our year. But also, I've really loved the EV Cafe Village and the vibe that's come of getting everybody together and truly collaborating, one business with another, supporting one another. That has been absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I mean, for me, really to accelerate what we've been doing as the EV Cafe, but you know, the podcast is been a particular highlight, with closely followed by the EV Cafe Village, because you get to meet people in the flesh.
Oh, he's frothing today, isn't he? He's frothing. Now then, Sarah, what about you? Highlights so far of 2023. We've still got a few days left, so let's not rule anything out. But what's been good for you?
You never know. Well, in my sort of personal world, I've finally finished renovations on my house just in time to sell it. And also at Pay-Through, things have been going through the roof with our expansion, which is exactly what I'm there to do. So I've been really proud of that. But the podcasts for me, though, have been so impressive. There's that, not just the list, like Paul said, but really getting to know these people much more than that sort of what I call reading your website. Anybody can just go and read a website, but when you get to the bones of why people do it, that's something I always say is never lose sight of the why. And I've personally found them incredibly inspiring. I've written down a few of the things that some people have said this year. So I hope that we can keep that up for next year.
Sam, what about you, my dear friend? Apparently you smile occasionally, which has been a highlight.
Yeah, only there's a film crew on hand, probably.
Only recently, something changed mid-year.
Really?
I was gonna say it might have had an influence on a certain other member of the team, but I'm not going to bother doing that now because she was mean to me.
Johnny's not here.
Yeah. No, it's been quite a year, hasn't it? I think I had 2 resolutions business-wise last year that I wanted to try and achieve this year, which was win a £100 million government project and break a Guinness World Record. And luckily, I was able to do both. So it's not been a bad year. Grid has grown massively as well. Of course, we've raised this load of money. Nearly swore then. That would have been awkward. And the EV Cafe has gone from strength to strength, right? I mean, it's just getting more and more awareness, more and more people. Even if people aren't watching it, they know of it. You know, they know that it's there, and they know that it's what it's trying to achieve, and that's also a real positive for the year. So, yeah, there's a fair way to go, both day job, EV Cafe, life generally, but I think all these things are great, but also comes at a cost, and there's always a cost for these things, and that's where the mental health thing that we're going to discuss later comes in. But yeah, no, it's been a fantastic year. I couldn't be happier. I did my resolutions, and now I've got to make some new ones for next year.
Now, Sam, before you go, Benjamin McDonald in the chat has asked, "What was your world record?"
Oh, I not mentioned it. I do apologise, Ben.
Not in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it was for electric vans, which is my forte. And it was for driving further in one alongside, I hasten to add, Fergal McGrath and Kevin Booker, who wasn't good for me. But I am the only effort. Well, it's a team effort, but I'm the only one that shouts about it, so I'm the only one that takes the credit.
There is that.
But no, at least I did mention them. But yeah, longest distance ever travelled in an electric van, 311.8 miles, and it's there to be beaten by somebody else. So fingers crossed that it does get beaten, because then it shows progress.
Absolutely, and welcome everyone to Sam Clark's EV Cafe.
You asked. I wasn't even going to mention it today. Well, I know I did. I already did.
Oh, please behave yourself. Now then, should we say hello to a few people, because we're hoping to get some Zoom people actually onto the call later. But we've got Amy Rogers, Andre Lukin. Interesting. Anna Morday, Anthony Parker, Ash Bannister, Benjamin McDonald, the aforementioned Colin Hennessy. Hello, my friend. Corin Riley, Dan Hawkes, David Bushnell, David Friel, Dev Chakravarti, who turns up week in, week out for everything. Good man. Gary Chater, Gary Comerford, who's just gorgeous, and appeared in Napoleon. Did anybody know that? Oh, yes. Gary Tarbox, Gordon Brown. Oh, it's nice of the ex-Prime Minister to turn up. Graham Clark, Helen Parker, our very own Helen Parker in the house. And we were singing your praises just in case you missed it earlier. Ian Thompson, Jacob Hunt, Jade Edwards. Where else? We got Jason Blythe, James Thurrell. James Thurrell was one of the first people in the house today. There were two instantly. He was right on it. Jamie Fretwell of Mercedes-Benz Trucks, Jeremy Howard Knight, Kate Armitage. Kate, the legend, as she was described at the Green Fleet Awards, the encyclopedia of EV. Keith Freeman, Laura Freeb. Now, Laura, where have you been all my life? I seem to recall we met you at Fleet and Mobility Live and you criticised our mustard-coloured shirts. Well, you'll be sorry now, Flower.
Yeah, they're blue now, thanks to you. We had to change them all.
Lindsay Warren, Luca Pappalardo, and hopefully I've said that correctly, Lucy Tunnicliffe, Lynn James, Martin Duff, Marvin Samuels, love a bit of Marvin, Matt Ashton, Matt Humphreys, Matthew Ling, Michael Barton in Bristol, Michael Kent, Michelle Breffett, Mick Martin, Mike Fisher. We could be here all day. Do I keep going? Do I keep going? Sam says no.
Let's do some more later.
Let's do some more later when there'll be even more people online. Right. Okay. Now, Sarah, one of the things that we do, we don't just take. It's not all a take, love us, love us, love us. We try to give a little bit back. And under your tutelage and guidance, we've been doing that this year. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'm really proud of this actually. It's something that I've instilled, was pleased to find at Patreon, and something that we've all worked together to instill at the EV Cafe. But it's about the fact that we like to show how to sort of build communities and give back. And so at the start of this year, we decided that the audience, you guys, could tell us which charities you'd like us to support every single month. So we have tried to do this. We've tried to keep up with it, and next year we certainly shall. So I've got a little list of all the lovely charities that we have been able to support and the people who submitted them to us. So huge thanks to everybody on this list. So I guess in no particular order, we've had Shelter, we've had the Samaritans, we've had Save the Children Gaza Appeal, particularly shout out to Johnny Berry who put that one forward. Had the Royal Marines, an amazing challenge that we all watched. Paul was your son. Ben Automotive did the Dragon Ride for them. Holt Youth Project, Ed Sargent from Pivot Power swam the channel for them. Little Princess Trust, Claire Leclerc's son grew his hair very long to cut it to make wigs for children going through cancer charity. We had PACE, which is John Wybrow from GridServe, did a huge charity ride, I think, to Paris. The Disaster Emergency Committee with the Turkish earthquake, and many, many more personally. I always raise a minimum of £5,000 through ridiculous sporting challenges each year. And so that, plus what we've done with the EV Cafe, plus, of course, the Barbara Cox pledge, which was essentially £5,000 cash award to advance my career, we decided to pay forward £1,000 to charity. Shelter has been nominated, and the remaining £4,000 will be available to any applicant who wants to enter our industry but lacks the opportunity to have that education, training, mental health awareness, whatever they need to make that leap and feel like they've landed in a safe place. We'll be opening applications for that via our EV Cafe channel and give that to you so that you can come over and join us here in the wonderful EV industry. So I think that deserves a round of applause. We've tried really hard, and I'm very, very proud of what we've achieved. Well done, everyone.
Now then, we've been doing all that stuff, but you know, the real heroes are out in the real world. And somebody who's been out in the real world, going from pole to pole, north to south, is our good friend Chris Ramsey.
I forgot to mention them. That was the one that I left off in case I crushed your intro.
See what I did there?
Well
that was professional, though, eh?
Sorry.
So we got a message. We were very lucky to get a message from Chris 60 miles before he reached the South Pole. We're just going to play that for you now.
A huge hello from myself and Julie from the Pole to Pole Electric Vehicle Expedition to the amazing EV Cafe crew and to all you guys tuned into this episode. My name is Chris. I'm currently speaking to you from Antarctica, around just under 60 miles away from the South Pole. And for you guys that don't know, myself and Julie have been driving from the 1823 magnetic North Pole all the way to the South Pole in Antarctica in our Nissan area. We're very close. We're exhausted, we're tired, we've both fallen ill, but behind us, you can see our base. See the solar panels, charging with our hybrid generator solar charging solution, which has worked amazing and reduced our fuel consumption by over 1/3. But we are here. We are so close. We are not going to give up. Thank you to all of you guys for all your support. We are going to push through, and we are going to be at the South Pole very soon. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day, and see you back in the UK.
What
Amazing.
a dude.
I mean,
What a lady
what
Julie
achievement.
is.
Yeah.
It fills your heart with joy, but it demonstrates, I mean, there's a practical purpose for that mad couple in that they wanted to show that EVs can just go wherever you want them to go. But it's about human endeavor. It's about doing stuff first. It's being that trailblazer. And I guess, you know, all the people on this call, in our own way, we've all done our pole to pole challenge, but that was out of this world and was covered by mainstream news as well, Paul.
BBC TV, 10 o'clock news. And listen, if you didn't know, I mean, Chris was very gracious in, if you don't know what I'm doing. I mean, if you don't know, you've been under a rock for far too long. An amazing challenge. It was covered by the BBC News. It's a great summary. So do go and check that out online. But do you know, one of the things that I learned just from all of this was that, you know, Chris was at about 2,800 meters there. I didn't realize, I thought it was just like a flat thing, but that was why he was out of breath, couldn't breathe properly because he was at high altitude. I mean, incredible challenge that they've achieved. It's just mind numbing.
Yeah, Dan Hawkes makes a very good point. No reindeers were injured in the making of that particular
Not
video.
required, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible journey, and sometimes you do get a bit disheartened when you keep getting the same old rhetoric in the world that says, you know, EVs can't do, are rubbish, are damaging the earth. Sam, 2024 is a big year for us, and we've got big plans. We're basically going out on the road. That's the reason why the On Tour in 24 video was played at the beginning, because it's important that we get outside of the echo chamber of EV, isn't it?
It is indeed, and that's exactly what Chris is doing. I mean, we're going on tour in 24, yes, but it doesn't pales into insignificance in comparison to what Chris and Julie have achieved. But nevertheless, he's doing us a great service there by showcasing the art of the possible, and more importantly, being on things like BBC News. And you know, there were plenty of people criticizing him and knocking him for it too, unfortunately. But you'd expect that, and that's okay, because the vast majority of people were, of course, positive. But there's a lot of people who still doubt the plausibility of the technology, and even those naysayers will linger for a while, but nevertheless, you know, we all as a collective, we need to do whatever we can to keep showcasing, go past these break these church walls, and speak to more and more people. And inevitably, as the world starts to evolve and change, hopefully things like COP28 will help to keep pushing things forward in terms of more and more people understanding the necessity of doing this. But it doesn't need to be a hindrance; it needs to be something to enjoy. So yeah, I mean, hats off to Chris and Julie. I can't, you know, it's wonderful to see people doing things and then talking about it. You know, it's something I've gone all about all the time, but they've done something. They've been there, they've done it, they've got the t-shirt for life. And I can't wait to see what they do next. And hopefully it is something like us that we can try and showcase the art of the possible everywhere we go. I think it's brilliant.
And I think Robin Hughes makes a very good point in the chat that it's important that we recognise the support that Chris has had and Julie from Nissan and the great Araya vehicle, which, yes, was modified, but my Lord, that thing stood up to some punishment.
Not much. Not much.
No, indeed, just bigger wheels. And Arctic Trucks, who were the support team, who had spec'd out the whole journey and done an incredible amount of work prior to it all happening. So real wonderful collaboration across an amazing team. And I understand they're going to be staying in the Arctic, in the South
America.
Yeah, for another few days. I think it's the new year before they're going to be coming back, but they're driving home for after Christmas, which is quite incredible. So, you know, congratulations from all of us to all of you. Amazing team. Now then, somebody else who's out doing stuff in the real world is Bryce Cunningham at Mossgiel Farm. Sam, could you do a cheeky little introduction?
Well, I mean, I can try. No, I'll just do it off the cuff, shall I? Whilst reading up here.
And
right.
Bryce, if you put your camera back on, so you're with us. Thank you.
Yeah, here he goes. He's already decided he's moved into the madhouse, I think, based on expression before we started. But anyway, I should carry on. So Bryce Cunningham from Mossgiel. Have I pronounced that right? Please nod if I have.
Yep.
Oh, thank Christ. Organic farm. It's a farmer working to switch up things in the food system, working with his team on a vision of sustainable dairy. They became the UK's first single-use plastic-free dairy in 2019, which is amazing. Created a unique way to brew milk instead of pasteurizing it, allowing the natural flavors of milk to remain through processing while allowing them to use renewable technology to do it, which is very, very clever. He also lives in the very same farm as the legendary
Oh, no.
legendary, I'll say it again just for artistic effect, poet Robert Burns, who lived there when he published his first book of poems, meaning that no matter if it's milk, poetry, or nature, there's always a Mossgiel story to share. Now, little known fact, when he left school, he wanted nothing to do with farming. In fact, he couldn't wait to leave. He even ended up working for Mercedes-Benz and became Scotland's youngest diagnostic technician at 20 years of age. So well-traveled, well-experienced, and welcome to our show, Bryce. And thank you for joining us today in your what is it, a spaceship or an attic?
No, it's a tiny little attic above the farm office. So
brilliant.
It was a COVID experiment that's never really stopped yet.
Well, very, very welcome. You are, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Scotland, but reasonably South Scotland. Is that right? So is it freezing cold up there? Is it brass monkeys, or is it not too bad?
No, we're all right. We're in the west coast of Scotland, so it's always wet, but we never really get the extremes of cold we get up north, so we're all right.
Good.
So, Bryce, do tell us, what is the vision of Mossgiel Farm, and how did you get into this? And I happen to know that you do love an electric van. So please tell us about the vehicles that you're using to take the carbon out of Christmas.
Cool. Well, thanks very much. Well, first of all, it's great to be here. I've been watching you all on LinkedIn for a long time, and I always want to get more involved than I have been. But great work, so keep it up. So my story, is thanks for the introduction, Sam. As I say, I started off working at Mercedes-Benz for my first 10 years of working. And in my 10th year, I was just getting into a suit. I was in a sort of lower level management position, and just going through some management training when we discovered that both my father and my grandfather had been diagnosed with terminal cancer. So being, growing up in the farm, I thought, right, let's go home, see what's going on, see if we can help them out. And they end up, I sort of worked here for 3 months. My grandfather had died. Papa had died a couple of months later, and I sort of, I felt this urge to sort of try and take the family business forward and see if I could be a farmer, even though I'd spent my whole youth trying to get away from the place. And I ended up back here. So I kind of started off just doing what Dad and Papa did. However, unfortunately, the bank manager didn't like my approach, and neither did the milk market. So we ended up with we're in the lowest paid milk contract in the country. We had lost £110,000 in my first year of farming, and the bank then pulled out on us and gave us 45 days to pay back a hulking great overdraft that my father had taken out. So of course, my future in dairying was now in question, and I thought, no, I'm not giving up. I want to try something different. So when I took the farm over from my father and grandfather, they were what you call a conventional farm. So that's where we had 150 cows. We were feeding the cows quite a lot of cereals, and we were keeping the cows in all year round. They were in 365 days of the year. They were absolute athletes, giving crazy amounts of milk, but that business model wasn't working for us anymore. Now, during my time at Mercedes, I had always sort of had this slight interest in farming just because I'd grown up with it, but in particular organic farming and also low carbon farming. And also this was at the time that the sort of vegan animal rights movement was starting, and like David Attenborough was starting to talk big about carbon, start to talk about animal welfare, things like that. So I thought to myself, we're effectively bankrupt, we might as well try something different. So we tried organic farming. Instead of supplying the supermarkets and the big dairies, we decided to go it alone and start selling milk directly. And I sort of used my knowledge of carrier conditioning systems and cooling systems to actually make our own equipment to brew milk, because we couldn't get any finance. Now, I say brew because we actually took a bit of inspiration between how air conditioning systems heat and cool the cabins of cars, but also how craft breweries make beer. So we couldn't afford this big fancy equipment, we had to make our own. So I got some old dairy equipment, converted old tanks into effectively large bain maries, and created this 2-stage way of heating milk, because it was the only way I could afford to do it, basically. Now, unknown to me, we had then created this new way of pasteurising milk. And also unknown to me, a total accident was I'd walked into this coffee shop to try and sell milk. This turned out to be a specialty coffee shop, which I knew nothing about at the time. I thought specialty coffee was Nescafe Gold from a supermarket at the time. And before I was even out the door, the barista ran over to me and said, "Taste this flat white." And I went, "Oh, right, okay." And I went, "That tastes really good. It tastes really good." It says, "That is the best tasting flat white I've ever had. And the milk foam is unbelievably stable. It's just sitting there." So what we'd realised was, by brewing milk, we had created barista milk accidentally, but also sort of organically, and we tried to sort of do everything very differently accidentally. But it got to 2018, this was 2 years into our journey. We were starting to sell out of all the milk we could produce. We couldn't expand the herd any more than we had, because we were organic and we were landlocked between lots of bigger farms. We couldn't afford to rent other ground. So we started thinking, well, actually, instead of us just remaining one farm, why don't we speak to other farmers who we know are in the same position as us, whereby the milk price had collapsed and they'd lost a lot of money. Asked them if they wanted to go organic. Luckily they did, and today we work with 5 other organic farms across Scotland to deliver just under 2 million litres of milk into specialty coffee and various other places like the Scottish Government as well. So we've had quite a few good wins over the year, quite a lot of problems, as you can imagine. We're a crazy business model. So the sustainability side of things, I really started getting into sort of really researching it back in 2019. And that was when David Attenborough had just talked about his Blue Planet series, where the plastic islands in the middle of the ocean were starting to affect wildlife. And I felt quite strongly about it. I felt that we were doing all this organic farming, we were trying to treat our cows in a different way, we were trying to deliver milk directly to consumers, but then we were putting the end product in a plastic bottle, which was getting thrown away after 2 or 3 days of being used. And I felt very strongly about that. So in Burns Night 2019, I just took the crazy decision to stop using any single-use plastic and launched a crowdfunder to help us buy glass bottles, reusable containers, and milk vending machines. So we've not used any single-use plastic since then, and just 2 weeks ago we hit the 20 million pieces of single-use plastic saved mark. So that was, we were quite proud of that one as well. The next year, following on to that, we were looking at our carbon footprint as well. So we realised that heating the milk and cooling the milk was the 2 biggest areas of carbon that we're producing as a business, beyond our cows, of course, which burp and fart and everybody says we shouldn't have. But so we decided that we'd install a biomass boiler. We did a deal with a local investor, and we have a 0.5 megawatt biomass boiler, which heats up all our milk. It washes our bottles, it heats our office and heats our farmhouse as well, which is right behind me through the wall there. And then I sort of kept going. I just wanted to keep saying how much, it became a sort of challenge, how much carbon can we save throughout the whole business? So we started doing sort of slightly left-wing ideas, sort of feeding seaweed to cows, for example. We know that reduces methane in cows, so our cows get fed seaweed. But of course, as our business was growing, we were delivering right across Scotland. We were starting to see our carbon emissions of the diesel vans going through the roof. And we sat and looked at it. Actually, this was when I first had come across Paul when he was going to talk about electric vans and benefits of this and that. And I was actually one of the naysayers at the time. I went, there is no way that I'm going to be able to get milk from here to Edinburgh and get my van back and pay somebody to sit at a rapid charger for X amount of time. But then I started speaking to Maxis, and I don't know how I started speaking to Maxis, but all of a sudden they were saying that this new EV30 van's coming out and it's got a great range in it. This was at the time where, electric vans was your sort of e-sprinters, your e-transporters doing sort of 60 and 70 miles. So 144 miles was news to me. So we managed to buy one. We got one involved. Put a fridge on it, took it to Edinburgh and back, and went, this is doable. So the unique thing about our business is we know every day of the week exactly where our vans are going, how long the delivery routes are, who's driving the vans, and what the payload is, because people order milk week to week, so it doesn't really change very much. Today we've got 6 electric vehicles, and we're looking to an entirely electric fleet by mid-2025. So that's our target just now. So we're on the journey, very, very much trying to get moving. Also this year we installed our first array of solar panels as well, so we were able to get the first 50 kilowatts of solar up. The next 100 kilowatts is going through planning permission just now, and the big sort of golden ticket for us would be to get a wind turbine up, but unfortunately right now we're in the flight path to Prestwick Airport, and the radar control don't really like us very much for trying to put a wind turbine up, so we've got to do a bit of negotiations and probably pay a huge amount of money for somebody to just say okay. So that's the plans for the future.
God, Bryce. I mean,
Wow.
what the hell?
What a story.
Completely blown away.
My
Really
biggest takeaway
impressive.
from all of that is a message to Caroline Kirby, if she's listening, that it looks like seaweed needs to be Christmas dinner in the Kirby house.
That is so rude, but fair.
There was a couple of comments that people were making as Bryce was speaking, and one was that necessity is the mother of invention, and very often from that really tough time comes some brilliant innovation. And the other thing is how we're going back to a time when I was a boy of using glass bottles and electric vehicles to deliver the milk, something that we'd lost sight of, that it was a critical social service that you do, and that enables you then to check on people who are vulnerable and do all the other things that the milkmen and ladies used to do all those years ago. Quite incredible, Bryce. And this is your busiest day of the year, isn't it? You've joined us specially, and we can't thank you enough for that.
Yes, it is. So this is the Wednesday before Christmas is when our business model, we don't deliver to many people's homes, we deliver to other dairies, and we have their sort of organic option. We find that the most sort of carbon efficient way of and financially efficient way of doing it. So all of the other dairies we work with put a huge order in the Wednesday before Christmas because they want to do all the deliveries tonight instead of throughout the week. So so I think we've got something like 21,000 litres going out just today in all the vans and trucks. So everybody's busy out there. So I'm skiving in here in the office.
Ross McLaughlin says it best when he says, "Loving your work, Bryce. You really are the cream of the crop."
Oh, there's so many.
So many.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, Bryce,
Sorry.
one thing from me, you are absolutely not Skyping. What you are doing is telling your story to many, many other people, and it's bloody marvelous. Well done.
Yeah.
It's an incredible story, and whatever we can do to support what you're doing, we must continue to do, because what a great out of
Bryce,
adversity story. Well done.
I'm going to take a punt that I'm not going to get shot down, but we would love to do a podcast with you because that story needs telling as broadly as possible with detail. Because what I think you're doing that I think not everybody does. So some people get electric vans, but just carry on with their business. You have wholesale looked at every step of your business and considered all of the carbon aspects and done your level best, even down to seaweed for the cows. But I'm gonna leave you with this dad joke. What do you call a cow in your back garden?
I don't know.
A lawn mower.
I've got
There you go,
nothing.
dad joke.
I've
He
got
laughed.
nothing
That'll
for you.
do.
Yeah, that's because he's really nice. He's very
I
polite.
know, yeah, he's
unlike
very
us, so
kind.
we're just like, nah.
Bryce,
He's
I'm
really
sorry
brilliant
sorry
example.
that your session ended so poorly, but wonderful to have you here. If you could go off camera but stay with us if you've got the time, because we've got some questions in the chat box that Paul will pick up in a little while. So bless you,
Cool.
Bryce.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thanks,
Thank
mate.
you.
Thanks, Bryce. Brilliant job.
Now then, next up, somebody who's been doing amazing things with electric vehicles is Fraser McLean from M&H Carriers. Sam the doorman, back to you.
There he is. Oh, what can we say about Fraser McLean? Well, let's start with the fact that he's the managing director of M&H Carriers and one of my dearest friends in the industry outside of these other jokers. M&H is the most prominent distribution company in the north of Scotland and the first Highlands-based company to introduce EV charging and EV vehicles to its fleet, and have been running EV successfully for 2.5 years now, which is, based on the stories that Fraser and I have between us, that is really quite some achievement. Right, his fun fact that he's chosen today is that he once forgot his suit jacket in town and had to get a very well-known influencer to organize an Uber to get said jacket back to him for his hotel for a very important presentation he was doing in London. The very known individual, of course, was me. And he still owes me a taxi fare. But then he is Scottish, so what do you expect?
Hey, he's listening. He's giving you the biggest compliment there is, calling you an influencer.
No, he didn't. I put that in.
Yeah. It ended in ER, John, but it wasn't influencer.
Something else that ends with ER is Fraser. So it's all yours, my friend.
True. I've got to be careful.
Tell us about your business.
Yeah,
okay,
please do.
Well, first of all, thanks for the introduction and the invite to come on. And can I just say, Bryce, absolutely superb. Loved listening to that. To hear other people in Scotland and what they're doing and everything you've done there is fantastic. I love hearing stories of people in business, because it can be a lonely place sometimes running your own business. And I thought that was fantastic. So hats off to you. What are we doing? So we are incredibly busy. It's our busiest time of the year. It's one thing that Sam, I'm sure, doesn't miss from his Newt days, is this incredible period where volumes tend to jump up sometimes 50, 60, 70% as the world goes mad after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right the way up to basically Christmas Eve. So we've gone from doing maybe 8,000-9,000 items a day to up at 15,000 every day, 6 days a week, right the way through to Christmas with our staff here around the north of Scotland, Inverness, Argyll, Aberdeen and Dundee. And from an electric vehicle point of view, we've got 10 EVs on the road every day, 6 days a week, and they're carrying, on average, probably about 200 parcels each a day. So with some sort of fag packet maths in 6 days a week, that's about 50,000 parcels that are getting delivered with electric vehicles during this peak period. So given the weather up here, which is not too bad today, but we have had it down as low as -6, these vehicles have performed fantastically. I mean, it's... like Sam said earlier when talking about the amount of negativity around certain things, I would say to anybody, I'm operating in probably the coldest part of the UK for temperature and for challenge with weather. And we have had nothing but success stories with the 10 electric vehicles we've had and the way we've operated them, the way that we've worked. Took a lot of advice before we did it, because the charging infrastructure isn't up here, and really we need to charge the vehicles overnight for the next again day, and there's still a lot more to do. But yeah, I feel a bit like Bryce. I'm skiving a little bit today to do this call because I finished work at 1 o'clock in the morning last night, getting things ready for today. And it's a really busy day with a lot of food and drink going out. Turkeys, meat, all that type of stuff. We've got a butcher that we deal with in Forest. It's in a lot of items that we're collecting and getting into the DHL network for delivery tomorrow. So it is a crazy time of year and a really, really busy time of year for us and for our business. And I'm sure Sam doesn't miss it, having done it for so many years prior to doing what he does today.
I don't know how you've done it for so many years, year on year, to be honest, Fraser, because it's something that people don't necessarily appreciate. That we call it peak in the industry, and the peak time is planned for from middle of summer at the latest, really. And so Christmas starts when the sun is hottest in the logistics world, and it's unrelenting all the way through. And I suspect now it gets back in my day. You mentioned Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but with all the sales and things that are stretching that, so it doesn't seem to be diluting the volume. It just means that it's high all the time.
Yeah,
which maybe is a good thing. I don't know, but
it's not. It's really busy. It's people's expectations that have grown so much in the last few years, in particular. If you think about when we were all a lot younger, you ordered something from a catalogue and you get told you'll get it in 28 days, and you kind of waited eagerly for the 28 days. Now people expect a 1 hour time window. They want to know when it's coming. They want to know the name of the driver. And I'm involved in a couple of government things up in Scotland and around consumers and what they're looking for. And it is very interesting that the under 24s, I think it is now, are looking for, is it an EV? Is the driver earning a fair wage? How is it getting to me? Whereas the over 65s, I think it was, were like, we don't care, we want it for free. Sort of, that was it. So it's interesting when you get into consumer groups and you look at the way that the younger generations, maybe in my industry, are now asking more questions and are looking for maybe more detail around how companies are actually achieving their deliveries, which I had to speak at a just transition event recently the bank put on in the Mound in Edinburgh. And it's quite funny, actually, because I don't really like doing these things, as Sam probably knows, but I got asked by someone in the audience, do you think that this has benefited your brand doing this? And I said to them, well, you haven't heard of me and you've probably never heard of my company. So I don't think it's done anything for my brand. I haven't done it for that reason. I've done it because it's the right thing to do. And this is the way we should be trying to go. And the technology and the vehicles back up the decision to do it. But I did throw the question back to an audience of 200 bankers that were there and said, you lot would all happily pay £5 to have your carrots chopped and peeled at Marks and Spencer's, but you won't pay £5 for delivery. And until you people start paying for deliveries, it's going to be harder and harder for lots of companies to decarbonise and find better ways of operating. So there's a lot of truths in my industry that need to be talked about now, I think, which the younger generation seem to be asking the questions, which is quite a positive thing. But Sam knows how cost-driven it is and how challenging it can be at times to stay in business. So, I'd think that it's going to be an interesting next few years, definitely. And I think what you guys do and the way you evangelise about the product and the opportunities and what other companies can do is a good thing. And I think the more independent people you deal with, the more likely you'll get to get take-up, because independent people run and own their own business and say, you know what, I'm just going to do that. So yeah, that's I've talked too much there, but that's kind of a bit about the industry, I suppose, and what's going on at peak this year.
Ross, quick question from me. The next day angle of delivery, do you think that is something that is putting undue pressure on I mean, like almost like same day is almost getting to the point now? And do you think that is something that the industry should and could push back on the basis of decarbonisation? Would it make a difference?
It's a great point. The point I would make on it is it kind of depends on what you're getting delivered. If you look at the products that tend to have a time or would need a timeline on them, might be controlled drugs or products that have a shelf life that you would maybe need that for. But do people really need that T-shirt? The way they go on about it, it's absolute madness to me. I mean, I'm not the most fashionable guy ever, as Sam would happily tell you, but I think that the way that fast fashion kind of drove this necessity for speed and outfits and whatnot wasn't necessarily a good thing. I mean, I live in the north of Scotland. There's still a lot of places up here won't work on a Sunday. Now, it's not a religious thing for me, but I think it's a good thing. I think everyone needs a day off, you know, and I do think that, do we really need 7-day-a-week delivery? I would say no, personally, because I think someone's got to go out and do that job. A driver's got to actually go and do it. So I do think there are a lot of questions around it. I think it peaked when it's so busy and it's absolute manic as it is at the moment. That's a different challenge from the point you're making there, Paul. But I think you're right to highlight so much of this next day that drives extra vehicles or extra miles on the road maybe wouldn't be as necessary as some people think.
Yeah, it's a really interesting study, Fraser, listening to you carefully there about that sort of group under 24s and over 60s. The comparison is probably alive and well. But there was also an interesting overlay to that, okay, so you really value people's lives and pay and green credentials. But coming back with that segue about if you had to pay for your delivery to ensure that there was good wage and green credentials, would you do it? And the majority said no anyway. So there's often a little bit of sort of angel devil shoulder peaceful feeling. So you know, those surveys are very interesting, but consumer behavior in general changed massively during lockdown. We know that people got very used to having things delivered to their door that they would normally have been happy to either click and collect or wait for, as you rightly say, and that behavior has not gone away at all. But with that sort of drive of mental health is why we wanted to do this episode, and we'll come on to that section next, I'm sure. But when I see the same poor delivery driver going up and down my tiny village that has one road and 124 houses, I just think, like, could we not do this better? Couldn't we be forced to go and get it from down the road?
I think the problem is it's that customer choice thing, isn't it? That people, what you want is very different from what I want or what other people want. So some people, I try and avoid buying from Amazon because I don't like the business model. But my brother-in-law uses Prime and buys stuff all the time.
Oh my God, I know. I don't even have an Amazon account for that reason. I just don't like it. It's like awful.
It's so convenient for people that I think it has driven behaviour, and that's that commerce thing that what they've done.
Let's park this one, Fraser. You've been absolutely fabulous, and thank you for so much time. Really appreciate that. There are more questions that we've got for you that we'll try and pick up at the end if we can.
That's fine.
So if you could turn your camera off just now, because your good looks are distracting, and we're going to go across to a little video, what we have done, aren't we, Paul?
Yes.
So do you want to trail it, or shall I just play it?
Play it, and then we'll do. Well, do you know what? It's great. As EV Cafe, we are extremely privileged to be supported by some amazing people, and said amazing people are continuing to support us. And this is one such that is reigniting their support for another year with the EV Cafe.
I'm absolutely buzzing today because Stuart Middleton from Interval, you have signed again for a second year to be a silver sponsor. Why?
Why? Well, what's there not to love?
Fair point.
I mean, you know, for us, the Cafe has given us a great ability to kind of put our brand out there, be connected with like-minded people like yourself, and a great community which you guys are building.
Oh, just love you.
What is it that you guys do, and what's the gain for you guys for partnering with us?
Yeah, so look, we're a specialist recruitment company, and we specialise in all things clean tech and sustainability. So our job is to essentially help companies get to net zero.
So yeah, I was fortunate enough to be placed at Zaptec by Stuart. I've known him for a few years prior to joining Zaptec. I've been in the industry for actually nearly 12 years now.
Wow.
So as you can imagine, on LinkedIn I get a fair few recruiters trying to place me for certain jobs, but yeah, having known the reputation that Stuart has and having known him for a few years, I knew that if he was coming at me with an opportunity, it's something that I'd want to listen to.
So that is fantastic. Interval are renewing their silver sponsorship with their confidence in the value of the EV Cafe to their message. And also it's great that the community is growing and trust is central to everything that Interval stand for. That's really good by us at the EV Cafe.
Wow. Wow, couple of great interviewers there, Paul. And you know, we're just blessed, aren't we? We are really, really blessed. But an awful lot of that comes down to you, because you work incredibly hard to make sure that the people that we work with are supported. And we don't often thank you publicly for all that you do, but my Lord above, you do go above and beyond.
Oh,
Was it
well,
20 past 7 this morning you were messaging me?
well, the
Yeah,
bottom
lion.
is our customers are important. Our customers and sponsors, I suppose customers are sponsors. They're our partners. They're our friends, really, are important to us. And, you know, we love to serve them. And the great news is we've got a number of another announcements coming up over this next few days. We'll see another one tomorrow, which will be fantastic. A bronze sponsor. We've got a couple of gold, another silver. So we're exciting. We're very blessed. And, you know, if you've got great people that you partner with, it's hard not to try and go a mile, let alone an extra mile. So
it works both ways, actually. The sponsorship partnership arrangement, we do so love to grow the community, and as we said earlier, break down these church walls, but there's kind of a criteria to meet. We have to work together on this. It's not just chuck a load of money at the EV Cafe and hope that we're going to support your marketing. This is about how do we then amplify one another's messaging to attract as many people as possible to switch, like Bryce and Fraser, away from internal combustion and into zero emission tailpipes. So I find our sponsor package, everybody there, very, very inspiring. And it is friends first. We've always said that, even when we were right back in the early days, friends first is all that counts. And that's what is the secret sauce.
Yeah, and it's great seeing just a quick message popped up there from Sebastian Fleischacker. Being a part of the EV Cafe is amazing, and that's #Spiri. But you know, we got to know Sebastian first, really. You know, on here communicating, and I guess it's a good segue, if I may, John, just to go into this community and the mental health kind of focus that we have always had. So, you know, the EV Cafe was born at a very, very difficult time in COVID, and very quickly we grew our understanding that mental health was important, not only in the context of COVID, but also in the broader context. And, you know, it's always been something we've championed, and I'm very conscious, and many of us are, that mental health around Christmas can be quite challenging. I've literally had to train myself to enjoy Christmas. As I grew up, Christmas was not a thing that was really important or valuable, and I've had some very, very challenging Christmases over my life. But these days, you know, with the support of people around me and people just kind of living out their Christmas, and me just stepping back and adjusting my expectations of Christmas, it becomes something that I can really enjoy. But, you know, it is one of those things that we really should make space for people to have Christmas as they want it. So sometimes people spend Christmas on their own, and that for some is a challenge. For others is that's the way they want to spend it. And you know, Mind is a tremendous help in this, and it's a charity I believe we did support this year. You know, but they give a lot of good advice around mental health and supporting yourself with activities to be kind to yourself. Have Christmas your way. Somebody said it's about a day of self-care. I don't really celebrate Christmas and always enjoy taking time just for me, a whole day of self-care and selfishness. I remember spending a Christmas entirely on my own with a big steak and a bottle of wine. It was one of the best Christmases I've spent. Christmas can be a lot of pressure. So look, if you're having trouble, reach out, but do consider those in your close networks and always think about it. But Mind have got plenty of tips, but also brilliantly, we've been able to talk to David Beanie, who is a mental health professional. So back in the podcast earlier on this year, I think for Mental Health Day, back in May, maybe, but it's there, David Beanie, go search him out. But also very recently, Charlie Gilbert shared his story of mental health challenges. And both of those can give us tremendous hope. And in both of those chats, I think John and I had our own personal counseling sessions, and you know, we're able to share a little bit of our stories as well, because you know, we've had our own challenges. So listen, if you're struggling, you're not alone. That is a fact, and you know, we're here to be able to reach out to. There is help on Mind, the website. There are lots of advice there, and of course, there's Samaritans. But reach out to us as well. I'm sure if you've got our phone number in your Rolodeck, as it were, then you can call us.
Roller deck.
Paul from the 1980s.
I know.
Let's just have a
Hello.
quick whiz round. In the comments, if you want to give us your way that you'll be boosting your mental health over Christmas and just coping, then please do. Paul, are you going to be doing something special or different for Christmas in 2024?
Do you know what it's through Christmas and into New Year. I love going on New Year and diving in the sea, believe it or not. So I'll be down in Bournemouth Beach and just jumping in the sea to kind of invigorate. My son does it, well, not daily at the minute, but he has been sort of doing the whole cold plunge pool thing. But I think a time of reflection for me and considering how 2024 will grow and be bigger and better. So that will be my...
Ropes
Paul,
and a
I
big
had
lump
no
of
idea.
concrete are available.
No, don't be so mean. Paul, I had no idea. I used to do a Swanage New Year's Day dip every single year. That's crazy. We should just all go together, all five of us, Johnny included, who couldn't make the call, by the way, because he's tied up doing important things at Navuna.
That's not happening. We are not all getting in the water ever together unless I can put my foot on Kirby's head. Sarah, what will you be doing to maintain your well-being through Christmas and into the new year?
Well, a couple of years ago, I made a pledge to myself after 2021 was a very static, sedentary, desk-based year that annoyed the hell out of me. So January 1st, 2022, I started doing 20 minutes of exercise every single day. It didn't need to be strenuous. It was just on me. It was my time. And that has paid dividends, even though it's hard to carve out sometimes. And I look back over my stats, and in 2022, it was like 2,000 miles Everest 6 times or something, and 2023 hasn't been so impressive. That's because I've upped my game at work, but 2024 will absolutely include that. I'm training again for another mad charitable thing which takes place in February, so I'll be out tonight in the woods in the dark, being scared of all the animals that make super weird noises. But all jokes aside, that is my freedom. That is the moment that I just go, laptops don't matter, work is looking after itself, and this is time for me to just enjoy nature.
Quite right. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'd said at the beginning of the show that I've managed to be lucky enough to kill off a couple of hit a few milestones this year that I really wanted to achieve. So I'm very proud of that, but it has come at a cost, and the cost is health, really, mental health and health generally. I'm typically a very healthy person. I don't really ever get colds or ill, or I've been very, very fortunate, and yet I've been hit with a virus twice this year and knocked me sideways, and that never happens to me, and it's mainly because I've overdone it. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. So it's probably not a year, 2024, hopefully isn't a year of 7 days a week and working till 10 or 11 o'clock at night, because eventually that pays its price, or you pay the price of that. I went home the weekend to see my folks, and they both gave me a bit of an ear bashing on that. Surprisingly, I don't run my own company anymore, and yet I'm still in the same boat. So I think I need to work harder at being better with my time next year, and actually try and forge some time off, because we're all human, and in these worlds of, Paul mentioned it earlier in terms of, we came out of the COVID era where everyone had the frustration but also the luxury of being at home, right, and having the opportunity to do these things. But whereas now we live in a COVID world but also have to go out and do things as well. So unusual to be on conference calls for 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 hours in some cases, and then do 400 emails and then do the other bits of work, and there aren't enough hours in the day for that. So somehow I'm going to think over Christmas of working out how do I structure my life better next year, to do more, but with less.
Working harder to not work harder.
Yes.
Working smarter, and also learning to say no and to delegate and to keep your eye on the prize, but know that everybody else is in it there with you. As you say, you're not running your own company, but you're doing amazing things at Good Serve and for the EV Cafe. So we all see you.
We all cope differently, and Ian Thompson has just kind of reminded me of that. His comment has touched me. Honestly, since having to give up teaching on health grounds, I don't cope very well with all the fuss. I tend to withdraw, hide in the home office, and let the world carry on without me taking part much. Ian, we cope how we cope. And thank you for sharing that, because it reminds us that there are people who do not enjoy this time of year, as Paul alluded to. It can be a very tough time for those around us. And I guess the key thing here is to be kind, be thoughtful, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, try to accept people the way they are, and be the best you can be. It's all we can do. We are fallible.
We're often hardest on ourselves, aren't we? And I think, you know, Ian's point there, you know, it shouldn't be an apology. It should be, and I don't think it is, but you know, him saying, "This is the way I do it." Good on you, Ian. If that is the way that is the kindest thing you're doing for yourself, then we celebrate that with you. And we just, you know, hope that that is accepted by the people around us, and we've all got to accept it. We all, John, you know, you like to end the day and go off and be on your own sometimes, don't you? And
Indeed.
you celebrate that and accept it. We're all different.
We are indeed. Bless you. Now then, let's move on. Let's finish on a high. Bryce Cunningham, Fraser McLean, please, would you rejoin us with your cameras and loveliness? Paul, we've got some questions in the Q&A box. I wonder, could you fire them? That's the
yes. We've got one from Ian, which was, and I think it's an important one. It was one I was thinking about myself, which Fraser kindly answered in the thing, but I think it's worth bringing it out. So Ian Thompson, the aforementioned, asked the question, what vehicles are in your fleet? He works for County Durham Food Bank, which is a fantastic thing to do. Maxus have done a big raise of money appeal. In fact, even my selfie stick got sold for the food bank appeal that Maxus are doing, auctioned by John, which was great. And he asked Fraser about the vans he uses. So tell us about the vans you use, and maybe how you got to that choice.
One of the key things for us is, and we're probably a bit different from other people, is that because we're doing multi-drop, the doors are opening and closing maybe 100, 200 times a day. So whereas a van might be suitable for somebody who opens and closes the doors 2 or 3 times a day, one of the big things for a parcel business is that you're going to have a lot of wear and tear on the doors. There's going to be a lot more than somebody who's maybe a joiner or someone who just maybe once or twice a day. So we trialed quite a few different vans, and then we went with the MEN-ETGE van that we've had now for 2.5 years. And the biggest reason for that was the robustness of the doors and the actual ability to do the type of work that we needed. We did look at other vans of varying costs, but it was the quality really around the doors for us that made us go down that route with that particular one. Now, since we've done it, we've been almost inundated with the manufacturers trying to say, "Oh, our van can do it better." And we trial them regularly because we're trying to find the next one that can do over 200 miles really before we make the next big investment in our fleet. And none of them can do it yet. You know, we were told one of them could do 175. We loaded it up with parcels, went out, we got 107 out of it. So whatever you do, you'll probably find with manufacturers that they'll help you and give you test vehicles to actually try. So most of them were very good and gave us vehicles for a week. And then we've got various tests that we do for evaluating the performance of those vehicles. And then at the end of the week, we're able to look at whether or not it works for our business. So hope that's answered it.
I'll tell you what, Fraser, that is easily the best answer that we could have hoped for, because testing and learning in the vehicle, in your own environment and in your own situation is absolutely essential. And Ian, if you are struggling to get a demonstration of a vehicle, do reach out. I'm more than happy to try and arrange that for you and support you in doing that, particularly in the context of the food bank. And I'm sure Maxus in particular would be very keen, but that's not to say that they're any better than or worse than any other van, but just that they'll be very keen to support you. Kind of the same question to Bryce, if we may, because I think, Bryce, I know that I've commented on posts where you've been running around in a field in one of the vans. So tell us, do you have that same process?
Yeah, we actually do. Yeah. So again, our business model, I'm assuming, is quite similar to Fraser's. You know, we can be out doing 16, 70 drops per shift kind of thing. So yes, we're actually moving away from sliding side doors for that very reason, because it doesn't matter what van we get, there'll be one that have a door hanging off it not long after that. So we try and use slam panel doors instead, for example. But we generally we're running Maxus and Mercedes-Benz just now. So the diesel ones are Mercedes-Benz Sprinters. Just so unfortunate that Mercedes still hasn't been able to get the range up on it, but I do believe that's coming, because the Sprinter's a great van. But just the range just wasn't good enough for us. But to be honest, a big shout out to Maxis, and I think the team at Maxis are fantastic. Around all the different manufacturers at the time, the Maxis team were the ones that were, said, right, get this van, have it for a week, have it for a fortnight, do what you want with it. The regional technician is a phone call away. They got, they're absolutely fantastic. I've never actually worked with a better van company than Maxis. They're absolutely amazing. And just that post you saw with an E-Deliver 9, I think it was an 88 kilowatt, and I thought, right, I'm going to do everything in it. I'm going to go and fling cow feeding in the back of it, take it down a field, see what the traction's like, this kind of thing. It did stand up for what we're needing it. So we're just waiting on one coming. It's coming at the end of January to be number 7 in fleet. So yeah,
fantastic. You know what? I mean, obviously, I get excited about vans anyway. But just to have you two guys on today and celebrating the power of the humble van, from the MAN TGE with a range of 80-90 miles, all the way up through to the E-Deliver 9 88 kilowatt hour with just around 190 miles, I think is the official range. Maybe not for Fraser, who knows. But
we're very blessed, very blessed, Paul, I think, to have a world record holder in vans in our team, and also somebody who's no stranger to getting his back doors bashed in. Wow.
Oh, God.
Yes, I went there, people. It's Christmas. Now then, I can't thank you enough, Fraser and Bryce, very much for today, and bless everyone that's joined us on the call. You are an absolute bunch of legends. And without you, we'd be nothing. It brings to a close our webinars for 2023, and I can hear you crying. However, we'll still be here on Friday, 22nd at 10 a.m. for the news, and again on the 29th of December, because we all need an EV Cafe roundup at the end of the year to look forward to, don't we?
Absolutely.
It remains for us to thank you for your incredible support, and also to our amazing sponsors. We couldn't do this without you, so massive thanks to the AA, Plug Me In, Paythrough, Zaptec, Spiri, Hydrock, Interval, Kersha, McIntyre Hudson, and Dynamon. Thanks to you, all of you that have come out to see us at the various events we did this year, and those who week in, week out watch our nonsense as we try and make a little difference in the world. You are all amazing. But most of all, I want to thank Paul, Sarah, Sam, Johnny, because you make my world very special. Thank you all. And we'll see you Friday. Thank you for today. Love you lots.
Bye.
Bye.
See you Friday, everybody.